How are you all feeling, by the way? Good, good, good. So, what if I were to tell you there's things that you can't see? And those things that you can't see were the things that the people that you perceive to be more successful than you see very clearly. And what if those things that you can't see were the exact same things that you need to see to take your life, your health, your income, to get that extra loan a month, maybe an extra 5 loans, but yet we don't see it. So if you know anything about me, my background is in behavioral neuroscience, and so I've studied these things that other people see that I don't see, and I can intellectualize that with you all day long, but I just want to just give you an example of that. You guys want to play a little game? Now this requires your attention, and I know that the mortgage industry is full of ADD, so we'll see how well you do. So if you can, put your hands out in front of you like this if you can, with your thumbs in the air. Now, you're going to watch and pay attention to every single thing that I do. Take your thumbs, and I want you to point them down. Okay, perfect. Now take your right hand in the air like this. I see some left hands. Right hand. Oh, there you go. Good. Okay. Now this is the hard part. Cross it over just like this. And watch that mic as I do this. This can be loud. And interlace your fingers like this, and I need your right thumb out. Right? Yep, I see the left thumb out. Right thumb's out. Okay, perfect. So now point your pointer fingers out like this and tap them together. Perfect. Now, if you've been paying attention and you haven't missed anything, you should be able to do as I do next, which is this. So now, okay. And watch, the only question I'll get in the hallway is, how did this whole thing? I don't want to miss the lesson. As funny as that is, look at how predictable we are as humans. I told you were going to miss it, and you did. This is one of the most important things that we need to understand. In my 30 years of studying behavioral neuroscience, I've loved collecting these little perceptual illusions and things like that, but what they teach me is where the value is. What they teach me is that I don't see everything. And I have to figure out a way to start opening my mind, opening my eyes to maybe it's not the market, maybe it's not interest rates, maybe it's not my negative parents, maybe I'm just not seeing it. So, now that you're prepared to see everything, I want to do it again. But we're going to do it a little differently because I need to use a different tool. I need to use a tool that all of you in this room need to become masters at, and that is fear and panic. You need to become masters of fear and panic. Now, I can tell you what happens in the brain, the amygdala, how it triggers the noradrenaline, and how all those things, or we could just create a little fear and panic in the room. How many would like to create a little fear and panic in the room? Oh, see, mortgage industry always down. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I need you, everybody, pull your phones out if you would, please. Yep, I know we typically tell you not to, but I'd like you to pull those out. And I would like for you to unlock your phone and then hand it to a stranger. Can you feel that sense of fear and panic just start to creep in? All right, hand your phones back before we get any lawsuits, please. You ever hand somebody your phone and to look at one photo and they start doing this? You're like, yo, give me that phone back. Hold on a second. Take that phone back like it was our anniversary, no judging. So now, as much as we're laughing right now, do you recognize what just happened? I tricked you with the hand thing and I said I'm going to do it again. And guess what happened? You were paying attention to me, and you went from me to the person and their thumb. I didn't even exist. I did this at EXPCon last year with 6,500 people in the room. And they had imagine what do you call those, LED screens, almost twice the size of this there, that open up in the middle. Just a beautiful stage. And we did this, and I had the CEO, they opened, as soon as everybody looked at their phones, they handed it over, it opened up, the CEO comes out, we take a little selfie, he goes back out, no one saw it. No one saw it. It was an example of this, hey, look over here, while this is happening over here. You wouldn't know anybody that does that, would you? Do you know that CNN uses the phrase breaking news upwards of 400 times a day? 400 times a day, breaking news. And what do? We're working. Wait, hold on, what was that? Now, it's funny But is it? Especially when people know exactly how that works. When they know exactly how to play us like puppets. When they know exactly how to capture our attention. They get us over here, look at the Epstein files, what this is happening, 9/11, while the Patriot Act, all sorts of stuff. Now I start at this point where I see something breaking news, I go, and I get emotional about it, and I go, whoa, hold on a second. Where is no one looking? In conversations, when tough conversations happen, we often look at the speaker. You know what I look at? The listener. I look for eye rolls, I look for engagement. You gotta start looking where no one else is, because too much of life, the media, politics, they understand this. Because they understand the most important thing that we all have right now is attention. You have to be masters of capturing and doing something with that attention. And I'm not talking about being addicted to attention. I'm talking about when you're talking to somebody. Are they even engaged with you? Do they even understand your idea? Have they bought in? Is something else going on? Are they going through a divorce? Is there cancer in the family? Where is their attention? Where's your attention at night? How often do we doom scrolling? I gave up doom scrolling about 14 months ago. Made a decision. I'm just going to stop scrolling and see what happens. Wow. I stopped worrying about aliens. I stopped doom prepping. I was out buying bags. I was buying food. I stopped all that. I started reading more. I got back in the gym. Started having better conversations. I slept better. I mean, the list goes on. Now, I'll be honest, last month, guess what has crept back into my life? Scrolling. I wanted to get, what was this? What was going on with this? No, I'm just going to engage a little bit. I'm going to do micro-learning. Guess what I'm worried about now? Aliens, man. Do you know there's 64 types of aliens right now on the planet? And did you? What a fucking waste of time. I know I'm at Next, I can say that. Jerry, I'm done with that. That would be the last one I do. Thank you very much. And see, accountability is super important. But what a glorious waste of time. But here's the thing. And as funny as all this, I started asking myself these questions when I learned this. If this works while this is happening and it's being abused, T.S. Eliot had a great quote. He said, just because something's been abused does not neglect its use. Some people abuse alcohol. Doesn't mean you can't have a drink from time to time. Some people abuse selfishness. Doesn't mean you can't be selfish from time to time and take care of yourself. Some people abuse neuroscience and attention. That doesn't mean that we can't use it. Because I thought, what if we could use the same science for good? What if we could use the same science to uncover the positive things that are happening? What if, you know what, somebody once said to me, they said, well, the media is this. I said, well, hold on a second. The media is not a public service organization, number one. They're a for-profit organization, just like we are, just like our families. And we can't expect that from them. Well, social media. So, well, somebody once said, well, I don't like social media, all I see are big butts. And I was like, well, I hate to break it to you, but social media works on this thing called an algorithm. And it feeds you what you click on. So maybe our feed, and here's the reality, is a mirror of us. That's a scary sight. And so and I need to do this right now, but at some point, I want you to see what your feed is. And I promise you, they didn't create it. You did. And then, what is being fed to you? What is being attracted to you? What is being leaked to you to guide how you think? And if it's not helping your goals, you may want to reconsider what's going on. So what do we do about all this? What do we do about this? Because I want to help you understand this at a very deep level. I've spent my entire career understanding sales, persuasion, leadership, change, only to come back to one word, which is influence. How do I influence behavior? How do I influence myself? But then I realized there's a word that I need to understand, and I want you guys to understand it. I want you to dive deep. I want you to go into rabbit holes. I want you to understand its background. It's this word, narrative. You have to understand narrative because we say it all the time. We hear it. In fact, Stanley Kubrick said a great quote. He said, our ability to eloquently talk about a subject matter can create the consoling illusion that it's been mastered. So do we know what narrative means? Narrative is anything with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Movies have narratives. The media tries to control the narrative, but to understand narrative, you have to understand this feeling you just had right now. So I was talking, and I stopped. What did your brains do? What's wrong? Start asking questions. What did you think happened? Give me words. I want to hear it. Something was wrong? Oh, aliens? What did you think happened? You thought it was testing us? What did you think? You thought it was intentional? Okay. What did you think happened? Somebody was walking by the stage. I was going to beat him up. Okay. Somebody said I had to pee once. Okay. So let's take a Katy. That was a weird moment. The Katy Perry moment. Yeah. So I'm just going to draw a line. It's not going to be a real big deal, but understand this. So here was this line of narrative. I'm at the NEXAFEST. I'm on stage, and Rene's talking, and then bam, it stops, and then it picks up again, right here, and we're left with this gap in the narrative. So now, narrative is anything with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But here's more important what a narrative is. A narrative is a construct of reality, meaning we use narrative and story to construct our understanding of the world, our reality. And so we use narrative to box things up. Oh, this is this. This is the story I tell about X, Y, and Z. And so when we use narrative as a construct of reality, and there's a gap in the narrative, it's really saying there's a gap in what? Reality. Can your brain handle a gap in reality? The answer is no. So what happened? The moment I stopped, your brain instantly said, hold on a second, I know that face, I know what's going on, he is this, and it created its own story. It filled in that gap seamlessly to continue the narrative of my understanding and your understanding of reality. And the question is, what did it fill it with? With an assumption. I'll just abbreviate it for a minute. I made a mistake of doing a keynote for 3 hours with ASCAP behind me the entire time. Let me make the full word. So we filled it with an assumption. And so then we go, okay, hold on a second, but I thought reality was reality. Let's test this out one more time. Okay, let's pretend that we all work for the same company and our CEO doesn't show up. Somebody over here says, oh, but John didn't show up again? He's out probably buying another yacht. I don't know how many yachts he needs. It's one way to fill that gap. But somebody over here in the same meeting says, wait, hold on, John didn't show up? Let me call him and see if he's okay. Another way to fill the gap. So here we have the same scenario, someone not showing up, one person goes to greed in a yacht, another one to empathy and concern, constructing two coexisting what? Realities. I thought reality was reality. So let's dig a little deeper. If reality now we realize is an actually very personal experience. If you follow Andrew Bustamante, Everyday Spy, he talks about his #1 CIA skill. He's a former CIA agent, and he left, now he's teaching us CIA skills. He said the most important skill he learned as a spy was the difference between perception and perspective. And he says as an agent, as a spy, we always look for a tactical advantage. And I would say as a loan officer, as a manager, as a leader, as a parent, we need tactical advantages. Do you guys agree? Say yes. Louder. Yes. Perfect. So now, we want tactical advantage. He said there is no tactical advantage of operating from your perception. That is the weakest place to operate from. Because if I'm looking at a scenario, I look at it from my perspective, perception. But if I'm in a room of 10 people, there are 9 other perspectives that could lend information. But yet we become so stuck in our perception and what we look at things. But if you have the skill and the emotional discipline to back away from your perspective and your perception to engage in life, in a view from others. What's it like if you're a Democrat? What's it like to view life as a Republican, right? If you're white, what's it like to look at somebody who's been black? If you're a man, what's it like from a woman's perspective? What's it like from a bald man? That's pretty fun. There are different perspectives in the world. What does your enemy think of you? Now, our social media blew up a few years ago, which was great, but it also comes with not the great stuff either. Like a lot of hate. You look like a thumb. That's what they tell me. They also say I look like the guy from Breaking Bad, Mike from Breaking Bad. Really? There's probably about 4,000 comments saying I look like Mike from Breaking Bad. I'm like, that guy's like 90 years old. But you know what? It's interesting. Sometimes the haters will tell you the things that nobody else will tell you. It's a different perspective. So when we look at it from that perspective, now we say, okay, hold on a second. Maybe there's different assumptions going there. But I said, okay, why is it that they have different ones? And I realized that they have different sources of the assumption. Because maybe the person over here tried to negotiate with that CEO before, and he said, no, we don't have the budget. Next week, he's out on his yacht taking selfies. And so he pulls from that source to make the assumption, to construct the narrative, equaling his reality. Well, maybe the person over here, they knew that John's daughter was in the hospital and she was sick. And then he wasn't there, pulls from that story to construct the narrative, constructing that reality. And so the question then becomes, okay, if that's how that works, how is it that I can then influence the world from that perspective? And what I came to learn, there's only one way, is we have to learn how to tell our story. We have to give people the source of who we are so they can pull their assumptions from us. And I learned this in COVID. I had 100 events booked, ready to go. As a speaker, that's the goal. 100 events booked, your year is booked before it even starts. And then they canceled the MBA. And I had to watch 100 events go away, just erased, one by one. No in-person gatherings, no travel, meant there's no Rene. I didn't even exist. And I watched leaders back away. They went to their hot tubs, they went to their farms, they went to their places, and no one was left to lead, leaving room for what? A lot of narrative gaps. And so what do we do when there's a narrative gap? We fill it with an assumption. And so all of this started coming to play, and we realized, how many gaps do you think are happening on a daily basis? It's endless. And if we know neurologically, the moment there's a gap, we fill it with some level of assumption. Here's the scary part. If that's true, then our understanding of reality is based mostly on what? Assumption. That should fascinate you and equally terrify you. When we talk about building a brand, we talk about changing who you are, it begins with understanding where the source of the assumptions that are made about the narrative gaps in your life. And it's real simple, by the way. If I were to say the profession, used car salesman, what first word comes to mind? Slimy, sleazy. Look at what happened. I just said a profession, and your brain's filled in the narrative immediately based on your past experiences. Well, what if I wanted to change that? What if the marketplace understood me differently? How would I do that? Well, my grandfather was in Cuba right before the Cuban Revolution, and he knew that this revolution was not good for his family, so he had this bright idea to write a letter to the President of the United States at the time saying, if you get me and my family out of this country, I will come in and fight for yours. So somehow that letter made it to the right person, and they pulled my grandfather out, my grandmother, my aunt, and my mother, and he served in the American Armed Forces for 8 years, all in search for his American dream. After his 8 years of service, he finally landed in the United States, in America, in Homestead, Florida. Now, those who know Homestead, at that time, there was nothing there except Patrick Air Force Base, so his American dream was limited to how far he could walk. But there was somebody who believed in my grandfather, saw what he did for this country, got him to an older vehicle, and that older vehicle allowed him to extend his reach by 25, 50, maybe even 100 miles to find better employment, changing the trajectory of his life, my mother's life, and ultimately my life. And that person who believed in my grandfather was a used car salesman. Any negative thoughts come up? No thoughts came up because the narrative was owned by my story. If you bought into my story, you bought into the narrative. And if you bought into the narrative, I influenced your reality. Is this making sense yet? Okay. Now, we're going to bring this to life. To do this, I need a volunteer. Now, before I get a volunteer, I need to make some ground rules. These are very strict ground rules. I don't want a ham. I don't want the person that can't wait to get the hands on the mic and just wants to be up here smiling, loves being up here, starts telling jokes. I will pull you off stage if that's you, okay? Here's who I want. I want the person who doesn't want to be up here. I want the person who feels like they have no story. I want the person that knows they have this battle and has to overcome it, and that is willing to get coached. So, and I don't want any volunteers, I need a volunteer. Somebody who's willing to do that. What's your name, sir? Kyle, would you mind joining us up here? Let's give Kyle a big round of applause. I'm gonna need that extra mic by chance, Rana, the running mic, if we can get a sound guy. We'll be able to get a mic. We won't need it right, like probably within the next 2 minutes. Kyle, I can tell by how you get up here. You do not want to be up here, do you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Good. Thank you for coming up here. You doing okay?
I'm doing well.
Okay, good. Would you mind taking center stage if you would, please? And there's your audience right there. Wonderful. So now, let's give him a round of applause. And I want to repeat, I will need a microphone. Are we getting that one? It's coming? Perfect, perfect. So Kyle, when I say freeze, freeze. So freeze right there, okay? So if you notice, light travels faster than sound. And so whether Kyle likes it or not, we are all judging everything he does visually first. So he came up here, he's got sort of this humble approach. So he's got, that's right, you set it right down there for me. We won't use it just yet. Yep, perfect, thank you, sir. He's got this sort of humble approach. He came up quietly, and the first thing he did, his hands went here, step back, now they're on his hands, right? You cowboy? You from Dallas? Half? Okay, he's half, okay. So we got all sorts of things that are left. So now, there's 3 ways to approach life. There's neutral, there's back on our heels, or there's forward center of mass that lean in. If you notice, most of the time that I speak, I'm on the stage. I'm usually right about here. This is called forward center. So the choices we have there. So I'm going to ask you to stand, put your feet on those green dots if you would, and we'll face our audience. Yep, perfect, wonderful. And now the biggest difficult thing happens. He's wondering, what in God's name do I do with these things? Right? Like they go pockets back here, what do I do? You'll see if we get quiet enough, you'll see them, they'll start fidgeting. They won't know where to go. I have a video that's got about 36 million views about this little lesson we're about to give you, which is crazy because it taught me that this is one of the things that people fight with. If you notice when I speak, where are my hands typically? They're usually right in this area. So I want you to go right about here. Now, put your hands there and look at the audience. Notice how you're looking at him and not me. Now I want you to go like this, right here. With this, nice and open. Say, I'm really excited to see all of you.
I'm really excited to see all of you.
Okay, nice. Now I want you to put them down like this and say, I'm really excited to see all of you.
I'm really excited to see all of you.
Not the same, is it? Right? Hey, slow down, but I'm trying to say, hey, I'm really excited to see all of you. But keep it down, right? Hey, let's raise this party up. Right? So just from here to here, all of a sudden, we're communicating volumes, right? And so what I want you to do is I want you to find your hands right about here. Okay, so don't rest them. Just put one hand inside the other, like that. And then there. So now we're going to relax. Here, you notice that twitch? Perfect. So now, you're in what's called the influence zone between his belly button and his eyes. As long as your hands are in here, you're in a good position. And this position specifically is what we call home base, okay? We talk with our hands, we do all sorts of things, and then we come home. We talk, and then we come home, okay? A lot of times people will come home here, right? They're like talking and you'll hear all of this stuff. All right, so now, Kyle, if I don't rip my pants, we're good. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Ready?
I think so.
Just kidding. All right, so now I'm gonna ask you 3 unfair questions.
All right.
And I want you to hold the mic up here.
Got it.
Who are you? What do you do? And what makes you unique?
My name is Kyle Odiorn. I'm a real estate broker. What I'm unique about is I care and I educate. And I'm somewhat passionate in learning something new.
Okay. Okay, there we go. You good? No. May I parrot back what I saw?
Sure.
Okay. So when someone goes, what do you think this means? Not sure, right? And I'm somewhat passionate. Right? It's like I want somewhat of cheese on there. Not cheese, but don't really put cheese on there. The burger, right? And so now, we're not doing to make fun of you, right? Because what we're going to see is what happens is I set you up to fail. And the reason I set him up to fail is because he fell into a trap. And the trap is what we call the question trap that all of us fall into, okay? And it consists of 3 things. 1, most people don't put much thought into the questions that they ask. You ever ask somebody how they're doing and they actually answered, and you realize you didn't have time, nor did you care, right? 2nd, we feel compelled to answer questions that are asked of us, even if they're dumb questions. Like, what's your rate? We're like, oh, but it depends on what. Now we're in this defensive position. 3rd, the person asking the question is leading. Now watch what happens when we put them all 3 together. I feel compelled to let someone lead me down a path that they didn't put much thought into. I don't like that, do you?
No.
Me either, right? So put that right there so they can hear you. You don't like it?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Perfect. So now, I judge influence on a 0 to 1 scale. 0, you're moving away from it. 1, you're moving towards it. What would you rate that, 0 or 1?
Well, maybe 1 is forward,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, was yours the intro you gave?
No, it was lame.
It was like, all right, good. And you know what? That is what I respect because we're going to show you what a 1 looks like, and it's already existing in you. I'm not going to create it.
Got it.
We're going to unleash it, but I got to do something a little different. You ready for this? I got to ask you another question. I need to give you 3 words that make you unique, okay? Meaning, I'm passionate. Or you said passion was one of them. Empathetic, hard work, whatever they are. You tell me those words. You choose.
I'm real.
Real? You said real?
Real.
What does real mean to you?
Real is someone who is not afraid to say what they think, even if someone doesn't want to hear what they want to hear.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, perfect. Is passionate one of them?
It's good.
Okay. What was the other one?
Educator.
So what does that mean? You like to be an educator? Love that. Okay, perfect. Educate. I like educate more than teach, by the way. Do you know the difference between educate and teach? Teach, you're putting something in. Educate assumes it's already there, you're pulling it out.
There you go.
Right?
I like that.
And so I see myself as an educator because I believe this stuff resides within you. My job is to ask the right questions to get it out. And if you notice, we're asking questions. Okay, so now, would you say being passionate, a real person, and an educator, do those fit your personal values?
Yes.
Wonderful. So we know that they fit values. Now we can use science because science says that those values were formulated between the ages of 9 to 13. This is a very critical time period in the brain where things are formulated. So you've been an educator, a real passionate person for your whole life, most of your life, haven't you?
It's the A+ thing, yes.
Beautiful. I love that. And so when you start listening for people's values, you learn so much about them. And what people value, they tend to repeat often. And so now, what I want you to do, pick one of these that's really important to you right now. What's on your heart right now?
I think real.
Being real. Love that.
Interesting.
All right? So what I want you to do is I want you to think of a story and a person that represents real for you between the ages of 9 to 13. Because I want to know what happened in this time period to create this. That's a golden information. And it's a person, but it will also represent one of two types of stories. Either what we call a lighthouse story, meaning someone was a role model for you, and they were real and you followed in their footsteps. Or what a lot of us have is what we call a foghorn. Somebody was the warning sign. We didn't want to be them. They taught us what darkness was when it became real. They were not honest. So for you, who was it? And were they a lighthouse or a foghorn?
A lighthouse, and it would be my father.
Father, lighthouse. Wonderful. So what I want you to do, Kyle, is tell us a story, and you're going to tell us a story. You're going to step forward as you do this, and I want you to hold it right about there.
Okay.
And you're going to start with, I remember when. Tell us a story about your father and how he was a lighthouse for being real.
Well, my dad got 59 boys or 69 boys through Eagle Scout, including my brother and myself. And he had a unique way of kind of teaching us all lessons. So we went camping for like a week, and of course the boys used up the toilet paper really quick. So he came out with the last roll of toilet paper and tore off on each page a little piece and handed it to each one of the boys. And he says, I want you to put this toilet paper on your finger. And then he says, I want you to push it through your finger. And now he says, so I want you to know that that's the last piece of toilet paper you have for the rest of the week. So we improvised, but there was a conservative nature to his ability to communicate, and sometimes it was crude, sometimes it was real.
So now, first of all, are you starting to connect with him? Yes or no? So now, I'm going to give you the sentence, fill this in. So as a real estate agent, because I'm assuming that those same lessons your father was, you're the exact same way with your clients, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty straightforward.
Perfect. So as a real estate agent, one of the things that makes me unique is I like to bring that same sense of realty. But what did that do for you? When my father, he was this way, this is how it affected me. Now I get to affect my clients that way. So,
Yeah, I think as a real estate professional, I try to articulate a way for people to believe in themselves, a way for them to not just be ordinary, but to be extraordinary. It's not just the Eagle Scout, it's more of what you become because you have certain values and principles that you can execute upon. And so teaching other people that, maybe using a few stories, is a great way to help them believe in themselves, which then gives them one step to being extraordinary.
oh, those are you. So now, do you see a difference between a 1 and a 0 now?
Yes, yeah.
How good does it feel to honor your father that way?
No, my dad was a real character. A lot of people may not have thought he went the right route, but he did. He was successful. He died at 57, and I think he did more in the community than most.
That's awesome. And so we realized, like, go back to his original piece. I'm Kyle, I'm a real estate broker, and I'd like to think that I'm kind of passionate to this story. Now imagine if you practice that a little bit, and even ended with, like, how did your dad make you feel when he was that way, during the Eagle Scout? How did the kids feel? Empowered? What were the words?
Well, I can only tell you this, when he did pass, because I mentioned he passed early, there were a lot of young men that become doctors and lawyers and electricians and just every trade you can imagine. And they all got together and put together a fund. And that fund then became an annuity of sorts that created an interest. And then every year, they used to invite us back to Eagle Day, which is basically where the astronaut gets up and speaks on stage and so forth, or some guest speaker, like yourself. Well done, by the way. And, we got a chance to come back each year, and that money went toward a grant to help those kids go on to school and so forth.
So your dad had massive impact.
I think so.
Yeah. So would you say it's fair to say, and so as an agent, I get a chance to honor my father's legacy and ensuring people feel the same way about me and this transaction the way that he made us feel?
Fair enough.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
Well done.
This is your story, man, not mine. I mean, but how many of you just love his humility, by the way, right? And so this is the kind of people we need more of. And if you haven't figured out, one of my passions is showing people these skill sets that are the good ones that are silent. And sometimes the silent ones are the ones that we need to work with, but maybe in today's social media world, they don't get the voice. And so I want you to see what just happened here. I hope you, my friend, will start telling that story for more, because what a way to honor your father, what he did for you, and clearly had an impact on so many people. But you get a chance to connect with people, because I promise you, there's nothing unique about real estate. A piece of chicken with no story ends up on a $1 menu at KFC. But a piece of chicken with a story, I'll eat $200 to eat off a tasting menu.
Got it.
The value propositions in mortgage and real estate, it's just chicken. There's nothing unique. Your story is what makes it unique. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much.
3 weeks in, here we go.
You can take that with you. Thank you, sir. So if you can put that QR code up there for a minute, I'm just going to I always forget to point this out. For those of you that want to learn how this process works and what you saw, I do have a 30-day program that breaks down my entire sequence. Can you guys put it up on the screen for me? Whoever's got that, or at some point get it up. If you want to learn about it, scan the QR code. It is a 30-day program where I've broken down my entire Amplify process into small, micro lessons. I'm talking about 4 to 8 minutes, where I walk you through one skill at a time. And that skill stacks on top of each other. And if that skill stacks, you start realizing by day 7, like day 1, I'll give you an example. We teach you how to walk into a room. It's real simple. And you're going to give you one simple tool to pause in the doorway for 2 seconds. That's it. And you're going to practice that 3 times. Day 2, we're going to do it, but 10% taller. By day 7, you're telling your origin stories. We're going to get your lighthouse and foghorn stories, all those things you won't even recognize. And if those of you want to do this, come talk to me at the end. Put a group together and do it as a cohort. Do it as a branch. Do it as a group of friends. And if you do that and you let me know about it, invite me to the meeting. I'll see if I can show up from time to time. I've got a bunch of clients. I just chime in and I just listen in and I watch these great lessons and people learning and growing together for 30 days focused on one thing. Micro lessons, moving their influence and persuasion and communication skills forward. So anyways, do that. Check it out. I think this is like 50% off too, by the way. So there's a good code that comes from Nexa. So I want to wrap this up with a little bit of a tease on what my session is tomorrow. What you saw up here, to me, is the humanness of who we are. This is what makes us unique. It's your story. Like I said, a piece of chicken with no story ends up on a $1 menu, but yet a piece of chicken with a story will pay $100, $200. So I go, okay, what kind of world are we in? We're entering this artificial AI world. I had a very interesting experience about 2 months ago where, now to know a little bit about me, I graduated college with a 2.3 GPA. Yeah, thank you. And I remember being pulled in the hallway and my professor looked at me and goes, "Why are you here? You need to drop out. You're just not cut out for it." And I remember looking at him like, what kind of freaking teacher are you? But it was like, it hurt. But I think there was some honesty in that. But it was like one of those moments where I'm like, I didn't feel like I was cut out. Now what's crazy is 2 months ago, I was asked to give the commencement speech at the MBA program at the University of Iowa. And I remember going back to that and going, I wanted to call him up and be like, But I remember getting ready for this talk, and I was there, and I'm like, what am I going to talk to these students about? Like, what am I going to talk to them about? Like, am I going to try to motivate them and give them some speech about how the world is a certain place? And I started talking to them and professors and everything, and the screaming thing that came out was that they're scared. Because here they've spent 3 years, invested all this money to accumulate knowledge and credentials to only now have AI do it in seconds. And they're going, how are they going to matter in this world? And that struck me so deep, and it compelled me and inspired me to write a talk about how to be irreplaceable in an artificial world. And it was a 20-minute talk, but I'm going to read you the last 3 minutes because I have exactly 3 minutes left here. And I'm going to do this because tomorrow we're going to go through some actual skill sets on how to bring AI to life in a very, very unique way. Now, I'm blind, so I'm going to put my glasses on. But what I hope you get out of this is that we can reframe what AI is. And I want you to let this one sink in, because we're all sitting on top of something. And what I just saw, what we saw from Kyle, was, to me, the best part of being human. So I thought it'd be interesting to define artificial and to talk about it. Artificial, by definition, means made or produced by human beings rather than occurring naturally. It means imitation. It means substitute. It means fake. In essence, it means not human. But your intelligence, it's not artificial. It's organic, it's alive, it breathes, it feels, it dreams, it doubts, it grows. It carries wisdom of every ancestor who survived impossible odds so that you could be here today. It holds the capacity for love, for sacrifice, and for hope in the face of despair. Artificial intelligence processes data. Your intelligence processes and creates meaning. Artificial intelligence follows patterns. Your intelligence breaks them when it matters. Artificial intelligence serves efficiency. Your intelligence serves purpose. You see, you are not competing with artificial intelligence because you are the original. When you leave here today, you'll enter a world that will try to convince you that what you know matters most. It will pressure you to accumulate more credentials, more certifications, more technical skills. Don't fall for it. Your knowledge will become obsolete, but your humanity is timeless. Your ability to listen deeply, to communicate clearly, to stand up for what's right, to lead with love instead of fear. These skills will never be automated. They will never be replicated by AI. Now think about it. Let's replace the word intelligence with other things that we value. Who here wants artificial love, artificial empathy, artificial apologies, artificial passion, artificial courage, artificial hope, artificial friendship, artificial trust, artificial compassion, artificial forgiveness, artificial sacrifice, artificial inspiration, artificial faith, artificial loyalty, artificial wisdom? Doesn't sound so scary anymore, does it? This is where you realize that your real superpower is in your humanity. To be irreplaceably human, be courageously authentic, and to be the leader that this world so desperately needs. Because you see, the future isn't about humans versus machines. It's about humans with machines, guided by leaders who never forgot that behind every innovation, every decision, every strategy, every loan, there are human hearts that need to be touched, human spirits that need to be lifted, and human potential that needs to be unleashed. As Amelia Earhart once said, courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Those that know it not, they know no release from little things. They know not the livid loneliness of fear, nor mountain heights where bitter joy can hear the sound of wings. I love that quote because she says, life says, you want courage? You want peace in life? There's a price, and it's called courage. And those that don't know courage, they know no release of the little things. But they don't know the release of those things and that livid loneliness but they also don't know the mountain heights where bitter joy can hear the sound of wings. Because courage is that first key. And for us to enter this marketplace, courage is the first thing that we need. So that is your calling. That is your responsibility. And my hope is that you take this opportunity to take everything you've learned at this conference, everything you've learned in your life, to see the power of storytelling, to do it from the heart in a way that owns the narrative so that we can guide this world that so desperately needs our leadership into the place that not only helps our customers, our families, but makes us the place that we all know it can be. This world, no one's coming to save us. And the reason they're not coming to save us, because the cavalry to save us is here already. The cavalry is you. So let's go out there and make a difference. Thank you so much.